This is the story of David Berkowitz, formerly known as the son of Sam, and the transformation of his life. My name is David Berkowitz, and I am a prison inmate who was incarcerated in 1977. I have been sentenced to prison for the rest of my life. My criminal case is well known and was called the Son of Sam shootings. 10 years later, in 1987, when I was living in a cold and lonely prison cell, God got a hold of my life. Here is my story of hope, child of torment. Ever since I was a small child, my life seemed to be filled with torment. I would often have seizures in which I would roll on the floor. Sometimes furniture would get knocked over. When these attacks came, it felt as if something was entering me. My mother, who has long since passed away, had no control over me. I was like a wild and destructive animal. My father had to pin me to the floor until these attacks stopped. Picture David and his grandfather. When I was in public school, I was so violent and disruptive that a teacher who had become so angry at me grabbed me in a headlock and threw me out of his classroom. I was getting into a lot of fights too. Sometimes I started screaming for no reason at all. My parents were then ordered by school officials to take me to a child psychologist, or else I would be expelled. I had to go to this psychologist once per week for 2 years. Yet the therapy sessions had no effect on my behavior. During this period of my life, I was also plagued with bouts of severe depression. When this feeling came over me, I would hide under my bed for hours. I would also lock myself in a closet and sit in total darkness from morning until afternoon. I had a craving for the darkness, and I felt an urge to flee away from people. A force was at work. Occasionally, this same evil force would come upon me in the middle of the night. When this would happen, I felt an urge to sneak out of the house and wander the dark streets. I roamed the neighborhood like an alley cat and would creep back into the house by climbing the fire escape. My parents would never know that I was gone. I continually worried and frightened my parents because I behaved so strangely. At times, I would go the entire day without talking to them. I would stay in my room talking to myself. My parents could not reach me, not even with all of their love. Many times I saw them break down and cry because they saw that I was such a tormented person. Fighting thoughts of suicide. Thoughts of suicide often came into my mind. Sometimes I spent time sitting on a window ledge with my legs dangling over the side. We lived on the 6th floor of an old apartment building. When my dad saw me doing this, he would yell at me to get back inside. I also felt powerful urges to step in front of moving cars or throw myself in front of subway trains. At times, those urges were so strong that my body actually trembled. I remember that it was a tremendous struggle for me to hold on to my sanity. I had no idea what to do, and neither did my parents. They had me talk to a rabbi, teachers, and school counselors, but nothing worked.
Thank you for watching part 1.